All right, so in this video, we're going to do something just a little bit more in depth than the previous video and show you how the instances of these functions, how you refer to them inside of the function. So in the last video, we talked about how to use structures to give your functions some relationship to an actual object or an instance of an object. And in this video, what we're going to do is go a little bit deeper. So you'll notice that in this video we still have our structure. It still has two variables. We still have our first function call. We have added a second call. So if you'll notice right here on this particular line, we have gone in and told it that we want to declare a variable ms to my structure. And then in the last video, we had this call, which was ms.myFirstFunction. Now, I have modified that function to add this one line here. So you'll notice in most programming languages where you have classes, you use something like this dot something or self dot something to refer to the variable of the instance of that particular class. So you can't refer to the variable as itself because you need to get this particular instance of the variable that you're looking for. And so if you remember from the last video, we declared that this function called myFirstFunction is now related to the structure itself. So it's actually part of the function or of the structure that we created up above. And so what I did is I referred to f dot variable one, which is the instance. So you can think of f as being this. And if it makes you feel better, you can probably just make it called this instead of f. And then you'll say f dot variable or this dot variable one is equal to whatever it is that got passed into this function. And then we print that message, same message that we had earlier. And so the only thing I did up here is I declared a second instance of my struct called ms2, and then I call that same function again, except this time I'm calling the instance of ms2. So there's really nothing going on here. I just have two different instances, both referring to the same function and both passing in two different things. And then I wrote another function here. Again, it is part of the structure, so it's a pointer to my struct. And then I called this one just simply verify, and then it is going to print out the f, whatever f is, whichever instance I pass in, dot var1. So I'm going to look to see what the variable is set to. If I had called this function and not referred to f, and I called it twice, and the variable would actually get reset. So I wouldn't actually have a different instance of these variables and these functions doing the same things. I would actually be overriding the same one. And so what I have done here is we're just printing out the instance that we want to call. So what I'm doing up here is we're just calling ms.verify and ms2.verify. The point here is that I'm trying to show that the variable var1, while there's only one var1 up there, it's actually going to hold on to two different things because they're both instances of that same structure. So if we close out of this and we come down here and we tell it to go run test.go, you'll notice that we have hello world, which was our first func message, our print message. And then we had I am great, are you sure, which was our first call to the function. But I am great should have been saved into var1. And then we've typed go fast, are you sure? And again, go fast should have been saved into the second instance of that class. And then I printed out verify, which is I am great and go fast. So even though we're calling the same function, we're actually calling it related to the instance of the structure that we called it with. And so each instance holds its own variables and operates on itself separate from any other instances of it, exactly the same way that you would get with a typical class. And again, just to test this while we're in here, to make this a little bit easier to think about, you could have declared these like this, and then we're just going to replace uh, that and this with this. And so now it looks more like a typical class, and you could even probably use self in here as well. And so now if we go in here and tell it to run, it works the same way. The only difference is that now we actually are referring to it as something as a more typical class instance by using the word this instead of F.